Texas was supposed to be the retirement dream. No state income tax, warm weather, and wide open spaces. But lately, something has changed. People who plan to spend the rest of their life in Texas have decided to move someplace very different. And one of the top destinations is right here in northern Michigan. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why. Hi, I'm Gino D'Angelo, a northern Michigan real estate broker. I help people buy and sell in one of the most beautiful places in the country. If you're curious what it's like to live here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a video. I cover everything in northern Michigan, real estate, and lifestyle related. Let's start with exactly why people are leaving Texas. Now, a couple of these reasons are no-brainers, but stick around because one of them may surprise you. We've got to start with the obvious, the heat. I've heard from people who have helped relocate to northern Michigan from Texas that the heat in Texas, specifically during the summer months, is brutal, with many places seeing the temperature break the 100-degree mark for not only weeks, but sometimes months. And for retirees, that's not just uncomfortable, it's also dangerous. One of the reasons that retirees are leaving Texas actually surprised me. I didn't know until I started doing research for this video that the healthcare systems in Texas rate near the bottom of the rankings of the entire country. And in some rural areas, it's almost impossible to find a doctor. Now, we'll talk about this later, but that is something that I think northern Michigan does very well, is we have some great hospital systems, even our most rural areas. Many retirees do not want to take the risk of living in an area that they do not have access to quality healthcare. And who can blame them? If healthcare is high on your priority list when looking for a place to retire, drop a comment below and let me know. Is that totally a deal breaker for you? Now, contrary to some of the comments on this channel, I really try not to speak politically. My thought is that is simply one of the areas that it's very hard to lose, because no matter what side of the aisle you are on, you're likely going to upset the other half. But while doing research for this video, I learned that a lot of people are leaving Texas for political reasons. I've read that some politicians recently have created laws that have contradicted with the way many people who currently live in Texas want to live. And that has caused them to seek other areas to call their retirement home. Another reason is high property taxes and raising home values in Texas. Now, no state income tax sounds great, doesn't it? Until you see your property tax bill. Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the country. And if you add that with raising home prices, it is squeezing retirees' fixed budgets. Another reason retirees are leaving Texas are for infrastructure and environmental concerns. Power grid failures, hurricanes, and even flooding. These events aren't just one-offs anymore. They're becoming more and more consistent. And that uncertainty is making people really debate whether they want to spend their later years of life here. Now, if you've clicked this video, there's a chance you're wondering how Texas real estate prices compare to northern Michigan real estate prices. And I've got something that actually may surprise you. Before we dive into the numbers, if you're somebody that loves videos about home values, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. It helps me find out what types of videos you like. It allows me to create even better content for you. Now, you would think if retirees are relocating from Texas to northern Michigan, that Texas must have more expensive houses. And believe it or not, that's just not the case. Median home price in Texas is about $307,000. In a lot of areas in northern Michigan, that is much lower than the median home price in those towns. When you look at places like Petoskey, whose median home price is crowding $500,000, Harbor Springs, whose median home price is even more than that, and also areas like Boyne City or Charlevoix having much higher median sale prices. Why are people leaving less expensive areas and coming to otherly expensive northern Michigan? One of the reasons is even though the house prices are less expensive in Texas, the property taxes are way more. I recently had a client who relocated here from Texas tell me that even though they spent more on the house they bought here versus the one they sold in Texas, that they felt like the quality of life in northern Michigan allow them to justify paying a premium for their home. And if you're relocating to northern Michigan and plan to be on the water, maybe you're on Lake Travis in Texas right now, and you'd like to find a waterfront home in northern Michigan, you're going to find that the prices are about the same, and many people consider the quality of life on the lakes in northern Michigan better than the quality of life on lakes in Texas. And hey, do me a favor, drop me a comment below and let me know which state has better lakes, Texas or Michigan. And I recently just helped somebody buy a luxury home in northern Michigan after selling their luxury home in Texas. And they told me they felt like the total package was more attractive in northern Michigan than their home in Texas. Yes, the house in Texas was a little bit bigger and a little bit newer, but the home in northern Michigan actually had better water frontage and further space away from their neighbors, which they felt was more compelling. Historically speaking, real estate in Texas has been more susceptible to wild valuation swings, and that's just not something we deal with in northern Michigan. For the last 22 years, or since I've been in real estate, we've seen a gradual but steady increase in price appreciation in northern Michigan. Now, yes, during COVID, we did see a surge, but even since then, it's gone back to a more stabilized market. So now let's talk about why people are choosing northern Michigan over Texas. First and foremost, it's the four seasons. Now, as somebody who has lived in northern Michigan their entire life, I feel like sometimes I take the four seasons for granted, but it is the first thing on the list when I take a call from somebody who's thinking about relocating to northern Michigan from somewhere else around the country. Whether it's Texas, Florida, or even California, the four seasons that northern Michigan has is definitely a major draw. Not only does the weather change 4 times per year, the lifestyle of living in northern Michigan also changes 4 times per year. In fact, a lot of locals have certain totes where they store their winter clothes and their summer clothes and swap them out as the year goes by. One of my clients who recently relocated here from one of the warmer states told me that their kids were beyond excited at the potential of snow days and to see the leaves change. Sometimes it's truly the simple things in life that make all the difference. Another reason people are choosing northern Michigan versus some of the southern states, specifically Texas, is just how much fresh water we have here. As someone who travels a lot, I often find myself swimming in the ocean, and I'm here to tell you that it doesn't compare to swimming in the Great Lakes. The water is cooler, crisper, and we don't have that yucky, salty taste here. And if you're looking for a waterfront home in your retirement years, northern Michigan has so many different types of waterfront options. Now, while waterfront is always going to be a little bit more on the expensive side, northern Michigan actually has some affordable lakes. We hear a lot about Walloon Lake, Torch Lake, or Lake Charlevoix, but there are some lakes that you can get on for as little as $200,000 or $300,000. And now, while northern Michigan property values have gotten a little bit expensive since COVID, we still have one of the lowest property tax rates in the country. We also have homestead property tax exemptions, which allow anybody who lives in their home full-time to qualify for. This can be a huge savings. And now when retirees are thinking about how and where they want to spend their remaining years, the total housing budget comes into play. So it's not only what the house costs, but it's also the total budget of property taxes and insurance. Another thing that retirees love about retiring in northern Michigan is the strong sense of community. I think it's really interesting that if you retire in northern Michigan, you could be as social as you want or as laid back as you want, meaning there are groups and clubs for any interest you can think of. Whether you like to garden, play pickleball, run, walk, or even go to the gym, you're going to find your community. And I've had numerous people who have relocated to northern Michigan tell me that makes all the difference. And also, if you're not as social and you don't want to see any other human beings, I can get you a house in the country where you'll never see a neighbor. So if you're feeling the heat, either literally or financially, and you want a retirement that's filled with 4 seasons and a balanced cost of living, northern Michigan might be exactly what you're looking for. I've helped retirees from all over the country find their retirement home right here in northern Michigan. And I'd love to help you too. And if after watching these videos, you'd like to learn more about what it would be like to retire in northern Michigan, reach out to me directly at 231-487-6141, and I'll see you on the next video.